And then that. So, this is the Tacview from the Persian Gulf 1985 event that I put on stream the other day. It's interesting to say the least. There are a few things that I've seen in this that I didn't see in-game. Obviously, I can only focus on so many things at once in-game. But there's also a few things I'm not sure if they were desync or what, so let's just get straight into it. Fast forward through the first bit since that's just ground prep. We got our little stray friend here. Rush got a bit carried away and took off early. Had to come back and land. So, okay, Red's airborne. See them starting to organize. And we can also see here some of the ground targets. I'm not sure what these are here for. But here, here are the targets that the Iranians, the blue team, had to hit. These are the targets the red team had to hit. So they were pretty close together. They were literally on the other side of this mountain, or this ridgeline here, and yet they didn't go for them. Tacview's free, but there's like a subscribe or like a paid version that you can get, which Warp can tell you about because he has it. I don't. So right at the start here, you can see the Tomcats. Like we saw in the match, the Tomcats took off first and had quite an offset with the F5s. And they're kind of spread apart in altitude too, which is something I couldn't see in game. If we look at the closest two aircraft to each other, first Phoenix comes off at, actually him, 24 miles, 25 miles. And then they start launching on different targets. We got one at Flower. This one is from Firefly, is going for Pups and Von Mjarken. Those were the two MiGs that were carrying the S-24, so ground strike. So if we watch here, watch from Flower's view, he trashes that Phoenix pretty easily. These guys are obviously just going to outrun this one. I mean, it's still got a bit of speed on it, but they're quite fast. It's not going to reach. See the F5's hooking around to... Like, I don't know why the F5's going around to the north. I thought maybe that the ground target was up there, but their ground target's down here, so why they've gone up there rather than come out over the water? I guess there's terrain masking, but why not use this valley? You know, or why not come in here so you can at least deny their attackers from getting in amongst your ground targets? Like, it just seems really counterintuitive. What is Do More Gun? That is me loading up the MiG-21 with gun pods. That's what that is. We got another Phoenix. This is on Savior, I think. Yeah, this is the Phoenix on Savior. That's coming from Dormouse. That is a 20-mile shot. So these, like... I thought these Phoenixes were much further out than they are, but they're not. They're like 20 and 30-mile shots, which is quite reasonable for a Phoenix. Let's see, Savior... actually doesn't have that notched yet. He notches it right at the last moment, pretty much. I think that's about where the missile loses him. There's a... yeah, that's where it loses him. Then we've got a shot here from Helldog at Flower, which comes really close. It just... he notches it right about there. But, see, Helldog is getting in way too close, and if we just pause it here, you can see that Phoenix is well and truly trash now, that's dead. The F5s are just fucking around over their EWR, don't know what for. We've got a pair of 29s up north. The Tomcats are all kind of wheeling in this same area, which, from memory, is the same area the Tomcats were wheeling around in last round. They just hung around over over this sort of archipelago sort of green island bit off Keshem. That's all they did, was they just hung around here. It looks like they did the same thing, so I guess their strategy hasn't really changed much. Doesn't look like. Get all this crap off my desk so I've got some space here. Is there anything we can recommend for notching practice, or just wobble about on GS till I can do it? Probably GS, to be honest. That's where I got practice doing it. There might be like a mission set up to help you learn, but I'm not aware of it. And there are certain aircraft that it's easier in, like the Mirage, because you can dump your speed so quickly. And you have a good RWR, which is pretty important. Like, the 29 could probably notch a lot better if it had a better RWR. Okay, there we go. Now I've got some space on my desk. Blue seemed more coordinated than red, but just had crappy strategy. Yeah, kind of. I mean, red was more coordinated than they seemed, but they probably weren't quite as coordinated. And the Russian guys didn't have a Russian-speaking GCI. I'm not sure how good their English is. I think Von Miaken speaks a bit. I don't know about Pups. I think Pups speaks a little bit of English as well. Because I've heard them both speak it, I'm pretty sure, on comms. Just, they don't do it very often. Watching Svod, it seemed like a total shit show. Yink has this magical ability where his perspective always makes something look like a total shit show. Watching Von Miaken's, the comms sounded a lot like there were more comms and they sounded more organized. Probably because Yink was in a different channel and was possibly on a different GCI freak as well. You also have to remember that Yink will put himself in the middle of a clusterfuck because that's where he does his best work. Whereas the Russian guys held off a bit more. So here we go. Here's a 4 mile Phoenix. And this is really close. That looks like a hit, but it's actually not. If we go in here and run it forward a bit, you can see he notches it right at the last second and actually baits it into the mountainside and gets hit by fragments off of it. Now this actually sets him up quite well. 10 miles to that Tomcat, which is a perfect range. If I had a 530, I'd be very happy with that shot. At the same time, though, we got some action happening over here, so we're going to switch over to Savior real quick. Savior was being extremely liberal with his missiles. So we've got an R27 off, and at the same time, Helldog's got a Phoenix off at him. This is 5 miles. That's a 5 mile Phoenix. 5 mile R27 is quite close too. For a hot aspect anyway. Then an R60M. The R60, it looks like, runs out of energy. And the R27, just runs out. If that Tomcat had turned into him or had continued straight, he would have died. So turning cold there was the right move. He's pretty quick too, he's supersonic. And then Savior, I think terrain masks that Phoenix right there. Drives it into the ground. So meanwhile, Flower doesn't actually, probably because he was too busy dealing with that Phoenix, he probably hasn't noticed the F-14 right above him, or he wants to come in and support Savior. I mean, there's a bit of vertical separation there, but like that is, right there, that is the perfect setup for a belly stab. Especially a Mirage that's, you know, oh, he's slow, that's why. If he was a bit faster, he'd be able to belly stab, but he hasn't got the speed to go up. So I guess that's the right move. And we got a 530 coming off as Savior goes back in and recommits. 1.5 mile, or 2 mile R27, that's really, really close for a 27. Especially hot aspect. That one hits. And then 2 R60s. Just to make sure, I guess. The tank cat is real, but still, that's a lot of missiles for one F-14. And then a 530 from Flower as well. Meanwhile, the F-5s are still dicking around doing nothing relevant. We got a fight happening down here. So Maximus ends up with a trio of Tomcats near him. Must have been carrying the 490s. Yeah, he is. So he was carrying 3 bags there. Comes up. Hot aspect 9L. Gets away from that one. I think I was actually spectating this from memory because I saw that miss. Another one. That's a Phoenix. That was... What range did that get dropped off at? It's a 10-mile Phoenix. So right about there, he's notched the Phoenix. Probably unintentionally while trying to get away from the 9L. But because he's continued straight through here, he's basically set Challenger up for another shot at him. I mean, he kind of had to. He had to notch that missile and get rid of the AIM-9, but he's basically given him his 6 here. He needs to be turning in as hard as he can, not continuing straight. And then this is interesting. Remember on stream, for those of you that watched it, the 9L seemed to miss by a boatload and then he just exploded, and I was kind of confused by it. Like, you could probably hear the confusion in my voice. This is why. Watch this. It misses by like 1,200 feet. The closest it gets is 1,000 feet from him. That's the absolute closest it gets, is 1,095 feet. And it just goes ballistic. But I think it's because these two were desyncing to each other. This is what the server saw, right? So on my Tacview, you'd probably see this missile curving in behind him, but still missing. I bet you if we had Challenger's Tacview, you'd see this missile track straight up Griffin's tailpipe. Or Maximus, sorry. Because, yeah, like that is some prime desync you're seeing right there. And there's not much you can do about that. Like, especially if it's fired at you and you see the missile miss completely, but on the, look, to the best of my knowledge, DCS netcode works by calculating shots on the firer's end. So whatever the guy that fires the missile or the gun sees is what happens on the server. It's what happens to you. It doesn't matter what you see. It doesn't matter what the server sees. It's what he sees. It's client-side hit detection, at least to some degree. So this is why you have things like missiles going through aircraft and like just phasing through the cockpit. I keep gesturing with my hands. I forget you can't see what I'm doing. Like, you know, you'll be flying on, you'll see the missile come through your aircraft and not fuse. That's why. So it also explains why you might see a missile, you know, miss behind you and then it blows up on the ground or something and you die. This is the same thing. So it doesn't matter what you see, it matters what he sees. So this is why it's so frustrating when the guy you're firing at is desyncing, because you can have the most perfect missile parameter shot on him. As soon as he starts desyncing, that missile's trashed. And I think I've shown that in some of the Tacviews a while ago. Like, you could see me have a perfect shot on somebody and then they just teleport away from it. And the missile keeps trying to track where they originally were. It's really frustrating. I don't know if there's a way to fix it feasibly. It's just something we have to deal with in DCS. And this is why, when you have a either someone with a really shitty connection or a really shitty PC is the major factor, not connection. We'll come to that in a minute. But this is why if you've got a situation where people are desyncing a lot, like we have in the current version of DCS, it's a huge problem, because it really fucks over multiplayer. If it's one person doing it, it's not as bad, but if it's half the server, it's really, really fucked up. Not just in competitive play, but in DCS in general, you know, we've all had moments where someone desyncs through us while flying formation or on the ground, and it's kind of funny, but when it's consistently happening in combat, and it only seems to kick in during a merge, it's really frustrating. Now, as for what causes it, there seem to be a couple variants. The variant where people just randomly teleport around during a merge, I think, is a DCS issue, and I think it's come with the supercarrier patch, so 2.5.6 brought it. I don't know what causes it, but I suspect it's something to do with the code that came with the supercarrier, possibly whatever they used to stop you sliding around on the deck. I think that's what causes that. That's irrespective of netcode, irrespective of network connection quality. So if you have a shitty internet connection or a good internet connection, it makes no difference. If you have a shit one, it exacerbates it, but it won't cause it. So probably the best example of this would be on Growling Sidewinder, because that server is like kind of on the edge anyway in terms of how many player slots it has and what it can run. So if you go on GS, you'll see a lot of people teleporting around, not just when you merge with them, but if you F2 view them, you'll see them teleporting around. Disconnect from the server and reconnect, or restart the game and reconnect. I've done that, and the people that were teleporting switched around. So the people that were doing it before are suddenly nice and smooth, and the people that weren't are now doing it. I don't know. So the other variety is if someone has really shitty internet connection. People talk about, oh, you know, we limit pings to under 300 because if you have a high ping, you lag the server out. No, you don't. High ping has very little to do with it. Now, if you have a high ping, you will more likely have packet loss, which is, you know, packet loss is the actual problem. High ping isn't. High ping is what causes it when, you know, for instance, if you've watched some of the old dogfight sessions me and Tawny had with the boys, you'd see my Mirage nose cut across like 6 feet behind someone, and they would explode. That's what causes that, because in that case, they had the high ping, and so my nose was dead on them. I just stitched a line straight across their aircraft on my screen, but on their screen it would have been behind them, and on Tawny's screen, because their connection is telling his server that they're not where I see them. Like, it's all kinds of fuckery, right? Anyway, that's how that works. So, high ping is not a big issue. It might make it look like somebody's missing you when they're not, but it's not what causes the rubber banding. What causes the rubber banding is, as I said, either the DCS issue or it's high packet loss, because, you know, the game can't tell where they are, and they're only sporadically updating the server on their current position. So the server can't really make an inference of where they are accurately, and it has to update when they update. So that'll cause it. Packet loss can happen if you have low ping, it can happen if you have high ping. More typically, high ping will have it, but like I've seen people with 20 ping that were warping everywhere because they had shit packet loss. And you can have a really high ping and have no packet loss. It's just connection quality. The other flavor of lag, which Dave, otherwise known on Twitch currently as Crash Site John, Dave used to have this on Just Dogfight because he had a shit computer. He would just teleport around and like do flips and all kinds of weird shit because his computer was so bad that the game was locking up, and if DCS is frozen on the client, it can't update the server. And so the server will again only update when the client updates, and if they're freezing, you'll see that rubber banding. So somebody with a really, really, really shitty computer, you'll see them just going all over the fucking place. Like, if you see a Tacview where someone's drawing Mr. Squiggle across the entire Caucasus, that's what's happening. They've got a really, really shitty computer. Anyway, enough of that. He actually gets a Phoenix off, which he's lucky it went for the MiG-21's wreckage, because he had a teammate in front of him when he fired that. Anyway, so the Tomcats. Oh, hello. What's Firefly doing here? Firefly has dropped altitude to come down and fight Comey at his own level, which is interesting. This is not what you do with a Tomcat. It's like, these guys aren't bad pilots, but this is not what you do with a Tomcat. I would never, ever, ever in a million years. I mean, I guess maybe he's like, the Tomcat does have some issues with ground clutter. And these all had human Rios, by the way, not Jester. But I would not ever want to bring a Tomcat down into a fucking ridgeline to deal with a Mirage. That is a fast track to getting murdered. The Mirage is much better in that environment than the Tomcat is. Like, for me, if I was calling the shots for blue team, first, whoop, that's not what I meant to do at all. First things first, I would have the F5s closer to the action. I would have them trying to hit the ground targets already. Like, look at this. There's really nothing covering Red's ground targets except for a pair of MiG-21s who are loaded out for mixed purpose, air-to-air and air-to-ground. Then you've got Rush, I guess, who kind of was late to the party. And then these are all your Su-24s. If you got the F5s, instead of being up here dicking around in Timbuktu, where there's nothing going on, if you had them hanging around Keshem, like Keshem Island, Tacview's kind of deceptive in this regard. Keshem Island has enough elevation on it that you could hide in the ground clutter. Particularly, there's an escarpment that runs kind of around the middle of the island, like right around here. You could use that to hide behind. Or, you know, you could hide behind the mountains surrounding the actual airbase. Or you could just, like, you know, you're fighting MiG-21s in this area and a single 29. Like, it's not a big deal. And with that number of F5s, looking at the way Red split their team, I don't know how good the Blue GCI's situational awareness was. Like, I don't know how much they could see at any one time. But I would not ever be doing this. I would have these guys down here. Like, even if you have them just, like, you're not fighting Tomcats on Red, you're fighting MiG-29s. The longest shot you're going to see from a MiG-29 with an R-27R is, like, 15 mile, maybe, hot aspect target at high, well, medium altitude. Low altitude, you're lucky to get 10 miles out of that missile, hot aspect. Cold, 5 if you're lucky. So I would have these guys down here, and I just have them in a holding pattern, overcache them. Like, problem solved. Spec DWR coverage is quite poor for both. I mean, if we look at this EWR, okay, so yeah, Krips and Kazansky are masked. I get that, but this should. Has that got direct line of sight? Yes, it does. So this EWR should be able to see Comey, which is why I suspect that Tomcat's diving on him. This EWR, excuse me, can't actually see much. It's kind of in a useless place, I guess. I guess it's kind of redundant for this valley. Actually, I wonder if it can see Krips and Kazansky. It might be able to. 43 miles direct line of sight. Yeah, it should be able to see him. And then they've got... Where is it? They got another EWR somewhere around here, I think. They got one here. I don't know. Like, they might not have fully seen this, but they should have been able to see that these two were way out in the fucking sticks. You've also got, you see these BTRs and BRDMs? I suspect they're placed so that they have some degree of low altitude coverage as well. Like visual coverage. So they should have been able to tell that that was happening, like on at least a basic level. Anyway, that is... Yeah, that's when Savior kills that guy. So let's go back to this. Like, if I was Blue's GCI, I would have the F5s wheeling about over Keshem. I would have the Tomcats maybe in the same area, but I'd have them up higher. Like, I would not have the Tomcats descending for this shit. I'd have the Tomcats flying top cover, and then if anything tried to belly stab the Tomcats, because they've got to get quite close to do it, just either the Tomcats just shoot down at them with the Phoenix, or you have the F5s come up and belly stab them. You know, like... Oh, singletons prevent landings? Yeah, yes. But, like, you can see, when the Tomcats start coming low like this, this is what fucks them over. Like, right here, head-on merge, F-14 versus Mirage. The 530, or sorry, the Magic, no, that is a 530, is already on the way. The 530 is such a fast-moving missile, at that range you've got no hope of evading it. Like, unless you do some, like, Reaper roll bullshit, you will not evade a 530 at that range. Like, you just can't. It's too quick. Like, it's still accelerating as well at that point, and it just smacks him right in the belly. So, you know, that's how to lose a Tomcat really quickly, though. And so, we've now got, what's this, 3 Tomcats over the south. We've got a shot there from Dormouse at Savior. Are you supposed to hear yourself talking in SRS? No. Make sure you don't have the mic bypass turned on. Basically use them like, I don't know, how Iran use Tomcats IRL. Yeah! And, like, that's the thing as well. Red could then use the actual historic Iraqi strategy of the giraffe attack, so called because you fly at low level until you're literally right under the Tomcat, and then you just go straight up, which is something the MiG-23 specialized in, and the MiG-29s here are standing in for 23s, and they're more capable than the 23. It's a perfect aircraft for it. Just giraffe the Tomcats. But then, if I was blue, I would try and see that coming, and so you have your F5s positioned. Look, honestly, I would have pushed the F5s ahead of the Tomcats and used the Tomcats as top cover for them, because the F5s are more expendable. They're also much smaller and harder to see for red. But even if you didn't push the F5s ahead of the Tomcats, at least keep them under the Tomcats. So then if red try and giraffe the Tomcats, the F5s giraffe them, you know? Like, I don't really understand what blue's play was here. Like, it kind of... You can start to see where it made sense, but you can also really see the holes in it. Flamey Panda, thanks for the follow. Yeah, like, if you have an F5 on top of you, you can't be thinking about the Phoenix, which your RWR isn't telling you where it is anyway. Like, this is the thing. Blue have really good RWRs. All their aircraft have really good RWRs. Even the F5 has a really good RWR, right? Whereas red, the 29's RWR is marginal. The MiG-21's RWR is like just a beat boot machine that like kind of tells you when somebody's shooting at you, but not really. Like the MiG-21 pilots were 90% visual for missile launches, right? And then the Mirage is the only thing that red team had with a decent RWR. Literally the only thing they had. And historically speaking, that would have been an F1, and the F1 didn't have a very good RWR. It had something more in line with the SPO-10, I believe. So, in that case, blue could have leveraged this massive advantage in Elint, essentially, to know where they were being shot from, but to deny red the ability to know where they were being shot from. Because if you're in the merge with an F5, you can't be looking out for a Phoenix contrail from fucking 40 mile away, right? At the same time, if you are looking out for those Phoenix launches, you won't see the F5 rolling up behind you, and you can't really maneuver in respect to the F5. So you've got to try and pin them with both things at the same time, rather than hit them with one, which they then evade, and then hit them with the other, which they also evade. Like, blue didn't really do a good job of keeping red suppressed, because they were hitting them with one punch at a time. You know, instead of just smacking into them constantly, they go, and red's, you just duck it, and then they go, and red duck it again. Like, you know, they gotta be doing some Fist of the North Star shit, instead of just, like, one swing and then another swing and... Like, I can see the formations, like, the kind of foundation beginning, whatever you want to call it, of a strategy here from blue, but it's not adapted to what they're fighting. Like, it's not... It makes me wonder how many of the blue pilots in this event fly red aircraft very often. Now, I know a lot of the red guys in this fly mostly, if not only red, but they seem to... Again, like, this is maybe my red bias showing, but red pilots, in my experience, especially the Cold War red pilots, are so much more innovative and so much more instinctive in their flying than blue pilots. Now, you do have some pretty spectacular blue pilots, and you have some really smart blue pilots who work out all kinds of shit. Either, you know, they work out how to use a particular aspect of an aircraft to the best of its ability, or they work out an interesting strategy. Conker's road base outside our main base the other week. That was some 500 IQ shit. Like, legitimately 500 IQ shit. It was fucking beautiful. But there's not as many of them. Like, the pilots that fly blue that are that creative tend to also fly both teams. They tend to know what red aircraft can do because they fly them as well. Whereas, like, I don't know. Dormouse flies red on DDCS, but I think he only does it in the Tomcat. I don't think I've seen him fly it in anything else recently, but I don't know. Like... If you don't know that red are working with kind of shit RWRs, and if you don't know that red are severely fuel limited, and if you don't know that their radars are clunky and awkward to use, like the Tomcat's radar is clunky and awkward to use, but you got a second person handling it. The MiG-29's radar is designed so that you are told where to point the radar. Doing independent search, I've spoken about this before, I've been flying it myself, particularly on GS or on DDCS, but if you're trying to do independent search with the MiG-29's radar, it's a fucking pain in the ass because you've got like this narrow spotlight you're trying to sweep the sky with. You've got to know what range to expect to target at, what altitude to expect to target at, what azimuth to expect to target at. You've got to feed all three things into the radar at once. You've got to put it in the right PRF mode, sorry, which is usually PPS, which is encounter mode, Vystrechny. And then if that doesn't work, you've got to cycle through interleave, then you've got to cycle through pursuit mode, and then back to encounter. Like, the MiG-29's radar is a fucking nightmare to try and independently search with. Whereas the F5's radar is actually not that bad. I'd put it on par with the MiG-21's. I think the 21's radar does certain things better, and I think the F5's does other things better. It outranges the 21 for a start. The F5's radar is really not that bad. The Tomcat's radar is clunky, but again, you've got a second person to offset it. It's really not that bad. The ACM modes on the Tomcat are fucking phenomenal. The 29 has a nice ACM at least. So, I don't know. Like I said, I don't think these blue guys really know what they're dealing with, honestly, when it comes to red aircraft. Hey, Bose Chaos. And Jazz, long time no see, my son. We got to get you back in Cold War in the MiG-21. I miss flying together. Don't understand why the Mark 47 motors were smoking like a Mark 60. The 54A's smoke. The 54C is smokeless. I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's supposed to be like that, but the Mark 47 on the A smokes, and on the C it doesn't. I assume that it's not supposed to, but I don't know. Mirage RWR is good enough that they demanded upgrades for their new delivery 23s. Really? Oh. Huh. So maybe they had a modernized RWR in it. I thought most of the F1s had the French version of the SPO-10. Most of the ones I've seen do. Just want to say you commentating on this match the other day was really good. It was awesome hearing someone knows what they're talking about during the match. Well, thank you. I will, I think I'll do more of these because it was really fun to do. There were a few more things, like, especially watching this back, there are a few things I would have liked to focus the camera on, and there were other things I would have liked to talk about more during the match, but, you know, it wasn't my first time doing it. I'm kind of trying to switch focus between all these different fights, and at the same time, I'm trying to interact with chat, even though chat's, you know, a minute behind the stream. Like, it was a challenge, but it was a fun challenge. What I might do next event is we might just see if I can run it without a delay. I think, generally speaking, most of the people in the event didn't care. These guys have been doing this for a while. There's no prizes, so there's not really much to be had other than bragging rights. So, I don't know. Yink was on a 5-minute delay on his stream. I was only on 1. Thought the rumor was... Oh, here we go. Look up the document. Gotcha. Heard, though, that the original SPO-10 couldn't detect the Tomcat radar, but I'm not sure about that. It depends. The SPO-10 could be tuned on the ground. It was only really intended to look for certain threats, though. It's kind of like the SPO-15. If you look at the legend at the bottom of the 15 interface, where it has like a single letter telling you what type of radar is looking you, you'll notice that those letters don't correspond necessarily to the Russian word for that particular threat. So the X, or the thing that looks like an X, Ha, Hawk, that's a Hawk site. The N, Nike, it's tuned for like early Cold War US SAM systems, and then there's just a single threat for fighter radars, F. I think the P is tuned for, I don't think it's Pirikvachik, which would be Interceptor, I think it's Patriot. I think the P is tuned for Patriot. And then F is just the generic, you've got a fighter locking you. But in DCS, they've switched it all around because, like, this is something the ground crew could fuck with. There's a lot of stuff. Again, it's... E-War in DCS is fucked 9 ways to Sunday, so I'm not surprised. But yeah, like, the MiG-21s, for instance, because the SPO-10 is what it is, most of the warning you'd get for a Phoenix launch would be visual. You know, most of them would be fired out of TWS, so you wouldn't get a warning anyway. And then you just look for a trail, and then try and notch the trail. Yeah, Dormouse really put some work in. So this is a... What's that? 7 mile? 7 mile Phoenix. This is at Savior. Savior's comms were fucking hilarious, by the way. Savior just, like, absolute hero mode, charges into all the Tomcats by himself, which I think is what he usually does. And everyone else is just like, nope. He can sort that out himself, if I can speak English. But he notches that one pretty well. Or not. Desync, right there. Right there, that's desync. But I will say, Savior does tend to seem like very desyncy when you get close to him. I guess just French internet sucks or something. Or it's something about maybe high angles. Like, Pom has a suspicion it's high angles of attack. And I could kind of see that. And maybe it's because Savior tends to reef on the stick a bit, but like he desyncs quite a bit when you merge with him and then it settles eventually. But I think that kind of screwed him here. He's not even merged, but it looks like that's what's happened, is some desync. Because he's dead. And then we've got a massacre about to happen. So we've now got 3 Tomcats, but, you know, they're running low on Phoenixes at this point. And then we got both Mirages and 229s sorting in on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 F5s, who are out in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of a valley, where there is nothing to do. And all this while, like, you guys get me? While the Tomcats were fucking people up here, this would be when you send the F5s in under these 2 MiG-21s. 6 F5s against 2 MiG-21s, I would bet on the F5s 100% of the time. Unless one of the MiGs was Yink, maybe. Like, these two guys are up high, the radar can't look down in the 21, they're oblivious to what's happening under them. This is where you send these guys in underneath and hit those ground targets, and the 21s will not be able to do much about it. Oh, this is a heroic mode here. Morning Dude, absolute fucking legend, is 1,000 feet ASL. I don't know what that is AGL. Does this show AGL? 400 feet. He is 300 feet. 200 feet. He is, Oh, sorry, that's a bomb I'm following, not him. Big brain. Yeah, he's 300 feet AGL when those bombs that he jettisoned impact. So he hits himself with the frag of his own jettisoned Mark 83s. Oops. You can see the F5 starting to split in altitude here, which is actually... Oh no, sorry, those are them jettisoning bombs. Big brain. They are split in altitude though. Morning Dude's low, the others are high, or medium-ish. Look, I haven't eaten yet. My brain's kind of running on fumes at the moment. So, here we go. It's all the bombs being jettisoned. We've got a missile off the rail already. This is Kazansky. There's a second missile coming in, 530 from Flower. They're both shooting at the same guy, so seems there's a bit of a struggle coordinating targets in this big group. They don't realize they're both firing at the same F5. The 530 gets there first, the R27 is the finisher. At this point though, because Kazansky's committed on the same target, he's left himself open here to Vif. He does have Crips in support who could potentially back him up against... Yeah, he does. Good. This is some good coordination here, because otherwise Vif would have had a perfect Sidewinder shot to finish Kazansky. Right there, the R27 finishes him. That's some good teamwork from those two. Kazansky gets another R27 out at David, it looks like. But he gets belly stabbed by Morning Mode. Sorry, not Morning Dude. Morning Mode gets an AIM-9 into his belly. And that R27, being an R27R, just goes stupid. Actually, no, that wasn't at David. That was at Evil Devil. Flower goes over the top. Interestingly here, see a 530 coming in from Comey. That's a reasonable shot, about 10 mile. Not even. And you can see Crips turns cold immediately to avoid the merge. Don't know who that 530 was at, but it goes dumb. Now this is... See, Kazant's... Oh, sorry, Crips could have opened himself up some trouble here if morning mode had committed on him. He does actually still end up in kind of a hot spot. Well, he could have. David oversteered there. He went... He really should have leveled off behind Crips. Like, right there. Should have just gone straight for Crips. He would have had a perfect shot. That's... How far is that? 1.5 mile. That would have been an easy shot at mark 0.4 for him and 0.7 for him. That would have been an A9 kill right there. He probably just didn't see him. He was probably padlocked on Flower. I think a lot of the F5s seem to be all distracted by Flower. And so they missed the opportunity to take Crips out of the fight, and also missed Comey coming blazing in with his test firing the guns there, I guess. Off goes the magic. I think Comey had quite a bit of... it's not really a tournament, I guess, but he had like tournament nerves going on, because like I saw him slip on the trigger on the gun a few times, and also the infamous 530 jettison right towards the end of the match. He was, if you listen to the comms on Yeek's stream, he was so cut up about that, but it happens. Like, shit, I do that on like GS, let alone when there's actual, you know, tournament play going on. People underestimate the nerves. It does get to you. It really gets to you. Like, so for those who have seen my round 2 fight from Fight for Honor that I was in last September, I was really confident through the first round. Like, the first round I had no problems with. And right up until the, like, literally right up until a couple of hours before the tournament, I was totally confident the second round. I was like, yeah, this guy's really good, but I reckon I could probably beat him because I bet he doesn't know how to handle a Mirage. So I was really confident in myself. I was like, I'd go into JDF and I'd just slay everything in JDF. Like, when I used to go in JDF in the Mirage, it was disgusting. It was what really made me fall in love with that plane. Now, I mean, that's not setting the bar too high. There are some really good players in JDF, but there's also some really clueless ones. But I was confident. I was really confident. And then I woke up early. Or, I wake up early or I stay up? I don't remember. And I went to do some practice rounds in JDF to warm up and get the feel of the aircraft in. And I just got fucked by people I could normally beat. So I had like a fucking minor breakdown, like an hour or two before the tournament. I was that close to pulling out of it. But in the end, I was just like, fuck it, what's the worst that can happen? Went in, and I mean, it was a struggle. It was a fucking close struggle, but I did beat Burno. And again, because what I suspected, he didn't know how to fight against a Mirage, because he mostly fights other Hornets or other Vipers, right? So that got me through the tournament. And the third round, I was absolutely dead confident in my ability to beat Grumpy Finn. Like, Grumpy Finn is a really good pilot, especially in the Mirage. But we'd had a practice session against each other about a week before, and I'd pretty much run through and just smoked him. So I was like, he's a good pilot, but I reckon I'm better. Turns out I'm not better. I think I caught him when he was having an off day during our practice session, and then he caught me when I was having an off day during the actual tournament. The two of us are pretty evenly matched, and I think it was just he flew better on the day. Same as during the practice session, I flew better on the day. So I ended up getting knocked out in the third round by him. So tournament nerves are a huge factor, like really underappreciated factor, even in an event without a prize. You know, you're in front of a lot of people, people are streaming it, like there's a lot of pressure to not fuck up. And you've got to try and sort through all this in your head. You know, in a public server, even in Cold War, where I'm working with my team to try and achieve an objective, I'm still mostly in my own head. You know, I have the GCI to tell me what's going on, he tells me, like, I'm very much the kind of PVO pilot. I go where the GCI tells me to go, and I shoot what the GCI tells me to shoot. I don't really think about strategy. That's his problem, not mine. Whereas when you're in a tournament environment, you have to be a lot more independent because you don't always have the GCI's attention. He might be focusing on somebody on the other side of the map, or he might be trying to find, you know, like fine control your wingman so that he can see the guy that's coming in behind you. You don't have his undivided attention, so you've really got to have your wits about you in a tournament. time when what's-his-name was behind Yink and he wouldn't fire his Sidewinder, I was literally screaming at the screen for him to shoot him. Yeah, I know. Like, I don't know why he didn't take the shot. Maybe he thought that Yink was an F5, but how, like, you can't make that mistake anymore, because the MiG-21's burner plume is this massive white streak that's as long as the MiG-21 itself is. Like, you can spot the MiG-21 from miles off if it's in burner, because the burner plume is so obvious. The only other thing I could think of is if he didn't have his tip rails switched on, or he had his selective jettison switched on still, that would stop him from firing his missiles. He'd get toned, but he wouldn't be able to fire them. So, I don't know. I really don't know. But, you know, like, again, that's something that could have been tournament nerves. He could have forgotten to take the select jettison off after he ditched his bombs or his tank. But, yeah, like, that was so frustrating. Neither him nor his wingman. And both of them had shots. Both of them had perfect aim 9 shots. Neither of them took a shot at Yink. And, of course, they couldn't catch him because he's a MiG-21. He's outrunning them, so... Dunno. They had multiple GCIs and didn't have a solid agreement over who does what. That will send you straight to hell. Yeah, exactly. Exchange ratio on this fight's actually quite respectable for the F5s, yeah. I will say, but I'll switch between fights. Don't worry. I mean, set up a macro for weapons jettison in the Mirage and make sure it closes the damn switch. Yeah, like, I forget that switch all the time. Still can't believe I shot down Mirage with A10 gun and he was turning with me. For some reason it wouldn't give me a gun funnel. Yeah, I mean, that's... The Mirage, it's a double-edged sword. It can't sustain very well, and you get very tempted to pull the nose in the Mirage because it does it well. It's like the 21, you get greedy. Those two aircraft will punish you if you get greedy. The MiG-21 more so, but even the Mirage. And it's very easy to do against A10s. I do it all the time. All the fucking time. GCI is also likely to get tournament nerves. Oh, absolutely. And they get overloaded because they got so many people talking at once. Saber, I think you shot me down. It's never turning to fight you. Saw myself down. Ah, okay, yeah. It's easy to get tunnel vision in JDF as well. Okay, so here we go. We got a Magic coming in from Comey that finishes off David. And then Flower's got a pair of 3 F5s sorting in on him. Comey breaks off here and goes cold. I think he's down to guns at this point. And then we got Crips coming in support. These two work together quite well. Actually, there's quite... Like, Crips did really good support in general here. First for Kazansky and then for Flower. Unfortunately, he just can't get the angle. Flower does go down to an aim 9, and we saw that one up close on stream. But it's pretty much the end of him because Crips just rolls in right behind him and murders him. So we're now down to... Oh. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. We had a bit of an IFF faux pas there. Oh yeah, Comey's got... He's got the tournament nerves. Trigger slip, he switched to the wrong close combat mode. And then a magic at Crips. But thankfully it just doesn't have the energy to catch him. And then he realizes his mistake probably about here and breaks off. So what is going on down here in the south? You can see the F5s turn away and just fuck off from this engagement. So that was a pretty decisive win for Red. They did lose some aircraft to do it, but it was a Red victory there in the north. How many Gs was that Magic doing? We can check. Okay, where are we? Here. Does about 21 off the rail. And then by here it's decelerated, so it's not really pulling. But it did 21 right off the rail. So here we go. This is, actually, this is Fox coming in, so this is after Savior got deleted. Let's see, Yink and Ray. I kept calling him Bleach, that's Ray. I think he's one of the 2 RGT guys, he might have changed tags. Because, Flower was speaking Italian to him in the match, so... Fox actually cops some AAA there. Dust on my screen. And then comes back around. He's going head on. We got a Phoenix in the air from Challenger at 9 miles. And another Phoenix coming down from above from Alpha Whiskey at 6 miles. Nice. And that looks like... Desync? I think that was Maneuver. I think he went into the ground. He trashed the Phoenix, but I think he ate floor. Or he ripped his wings or something after taking AAA damage. It says AAA, but if you got hit by something and then you fly into the ground, it'll credit the kill to that. So it's hard to tell. We'd have to see his perspective. So we got a head-on here happening between Alpha Whiskey and Pups. No, not head-on. He's turned cold. Sorry. 5 mile, almost 5 mile shot with an R60. That's way out of parameter. That's never going to hit. Second one, again, never going to hit. There's just no way. Absolutely no way. They're already dead. They're not even halfway there. And then we get a 9L coming up from Dormouse. God, that is a long fucking 9L. That was at Von Mjaken. And that is a 7 mile, 8 mile AIM 9L. He dumps it. No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. Right there. Or is this what I'm thinking of? Is this the one where I saw the missile go behind him and then he died? Either way, that should have proxy fused on him anyway, so I mean that's a fair kill. He gets off 2 R60s, and watch this. Dormouse had the fucking luck of the Irish with him this match. Alpha Whiskey's turned cold. I think he's RTB out of sticks at this point. So there goes Von Mjaken. Pups turns cold, but he's got a pair of AIM 9s coming at him from Dormouse. Or not Dormouse, Challenger, sorry. So Dormouse eats both R60s in short succession. Loses a bunch of pieces. That's debris, so he lost pieces. Comes down at mark 1.2, pulling... He pulled 10... Actually, that was... Right there, that pull is a 10, 11.5, 12G pull. Through 10.5 again. Through 8.5. God, this airframe would have been bent beyond all recognition when it got home. Jesus. And he loops back around. So he's still going. So just next time we see Dormouse, remember he's taken 2 R60s. I think he actually, yeah, no, he RTB, so he must have had some damage on. But he survived it, that's the main thing. Because, you know, limited lives in this event. Surviving is a big deal. Even if the aircraft's fucked, you can just replane. As long as you get back to base, you can replane. Even if you trash the thing on landing, as long as your pilot doesn't die. So, pair of A9s there. At pups, they're a bit long, they don't quite have the energy. That one is pretty much up his tailpipe there. 179 feet is its closest approach. So he comes back down on both of these Tomcats. They're still firing at Myakin's wreck, which I find interesting. Waste of a missile there. And Challenger eats an R60M, damages him, and the second R60M finishes him. That's Dormouse RTB, Alpha Whiskey RTB. So the Tomcats are now out of play. Totally out of play. We got... Oh, no they're not. Sorry. Alpha Whiskey comes back with one more Phoenix, which goes up towards Rush, who was, if you remember, trailing way behind everyone else. And he nails him with that and tried to vertically notch it, I guess. Didn't really work out for him. Deletes him, and then he's RTB. They're all RTB. What the fuck? Oh, that's debris from here. So that's the Tomcats out of play. We've now got some F5s, which Ray, Crips, Comey, and presumably Yink are sorting in on. I think Pups was RTB fuel at this point. So yeah, we've got two F5s coming in, Zed and Morning Mode's kind of turning away. And then Cartel is actually heading for the targets. He was the one guy that made a break for the targets, but he's quite high, well above where the MiG-21's radar will start to see him. So these guys are going to be able to pick him up on radar. You can see Ray's right on his tail already. And just R60M, easy. Second one to finish him, and he's done. So that was, I think that's the closest that Blue ever got to actually damaging any of Red's targets on the ground. Because if you remember at the end of the match, I actually skipped through and spectated the Red ground vehicles, and not a single one had been hit. There were no craters even. There was just nothing. So we got another fight happening here. Zed gets just absolutely fucking removed by Crips. And then Comey here is coming in for guns on this F5. We've then got the Su-25s way up at high altitude, relatively high for a Su-25, and they're totally unescorted. And you can see Crips already heading for them. This is the dream right here. You want to see that. Totally unsupported ground attack aircraft at high altitude. They're just sitting targets. So right here, this was quite an extended chase, because this F5 was really running for all he was worth. But eventually, the Mirage is going to run him down, because the Mirage is faster, and deletes him. And that was Comey out of fuel. I think he RTB'd after this. Yeah. No, he went after the... He started to go after the Su-25s, but then he RTB'd together with Crips. Because, I guess, Rage said he had this. Hey, Thermo. And this is where some memes started to happen. As, if we go over here and look, Crayon Gang were busy destroying that checkpoint. Just absolutely destroying it. Let's watch these guys at work, actually, because I didn't focus on these guys enough during the actual event. See the three Su-25s at work. They're all approaching, running in from different directions to keep the AAA, you know, unable to decide on a single target, unable to focus on one of them. Really good, effective ground attack here from these Su-25s. Really solid. And here you can see their RTB. And I think... what we got here? This was the second wave coming in, so Kazansky respawned and came back in. Strafed up a ground unit there. Did he actually kill it? I don't think he killed anything. He hit a 113 though. Anyway, let's go up north and see what's happening here. So, yeah, like, look at this. The blue Su-25s come in way behind a fight. By the time the blue Su-25s arrive, the fight's over. Red have total air superiority over the entire front line. Not just part of it, but all of it. They're coming in, again, from the... Like, what? Words. Why? What is with this northern strategy that they're running? Like, why? I get terrain masking, but you're not doing it. They're way up in space for a Su-25. And you've got to fly twice as far, and you've got to cross behind where Red are conducting their ground attack. Why would you do this? Why would you not? Especially if you're coming out of Bund or a bus, and these are, like, the Su-25 doesn't have a lot of loader time. Why would you not hook out, come around the side of Keshem, which screens you at least somewhat, and then come in this way? Why not do that? And then, as well as that, anything that tries to intercept your Su-25s can't terrain mask. Like, I don't understand what they're trying to achieve here. If it was me, I would have had these guys following in much closer behind the F5s and the Tomcats, and they all would have come around the bottom of Keshem. Wonder what would win a one circle, A10 or F86? Might be worth testing. As he gets hit by a ricochet there. Yeah. Yeah, we'll have to... Let me just check that out once he gets closer. But yeah, I remember you saying in chat... Do they know what the ground targets were before the match? Yeah, they knew what they were and where they were. So they knew exactly where to look for them. So I don't know why they're doing this. Like, they knew that the ground targets were here, but they're all up here. I don't get it. Like, there has to have been some sort of logic to Blue's plan, and I think I can sort of see the beginnings of it. I think they're trying to terrain mask, and I think they're trying to use the F-14s to get air superiority, but you can't do either of those things by themselves. You know, terrain masking is fucking useless when your most vulnerable aircraft are flying at, you know, 7,000 feet above the fucking terrain that they could be masking behind. Or, you know, when all your air superiority fighters are dead. Or RTB for more missiles. Like, there's no value to this. There's no value at all to going north. Because Red can see you anyway, at least to some extent. They know you're there. They know you're not over the target, which is really the only thing that they care about. Like, if you've got guys milling around this valley here, there's nothing of value here, so who fucking cares? Like, you could have the entire team just circling here, who gives a fuck? This is the area that matters for Blue. This is the only part of the map Blue should give a fuck about. This and this. This area here. Like, never mind this shit. And also, to an extent, never mind this shit, although, like I said, you could use this to an extent to come in and ingress on the target. This is all that matters, and Blue just ignored it. Blue just totally ignored it. I mean, the Tomcats tried to gain air superiority over this area, but they failed. Because a couple of Tomcats yeeting Phoenixes, which Red Team can see coming and can notch, with no F5s to tie them down in close, it's not an effective strategy. Like, it's just... It's like Blue Team tried to do everything piecemeal, and you can't do that. It just doesn't work. Don't be mean to Beepski. He's been a good bot. He's been a good bot over the years. Don't see MiG-19s? Yeah, there weren't MiG-19s in this, because neither side flew them during the war. And there's nothing that it really can stand in for, I guess. Maybe a Su-7, maybe. Oh, well, not really, because the Su-7 has better air to ground. Love their initial strategy, but it fell apart. I mean, their initial strategy was still kind of flawed, though. Like, getting the Tomcats out to do long-range shit over Keshem is not going to help if there's no F5s to tie them down. Because, like I said, Red will just see the missiles come in and notch them, which is what they did. So they made the Tomcats waste fuel, waste Phoenixes, and get too close, and then just belly stab them. And at the same time, the F5s weren't doing anything useful to help, right? Put down bombs surprisingly well, yeah, but it doesn't carry many of them. That's the point. So anyway, here come the Froggies. And their doom is... Yeah, right here. Right here. So, right about as Cripps is approaching from underneath them, They punch off all their ordnance. They just jettison fucking everything and turn cold. Like, these guys were just like, nah, not my job. And turned around immediately and went cold. Like, I understand it, but why even have the Su-25s if you're gonna do this? Like, what's the point? You know, what's the fucking point? They just punch off all their ordnance in the middle of fucking nowhere and turn cold. And so here we see the big memes about to happen. Which is right here. You see an R3... that would have been an R3R. You wouldn't be carrying an R3S in this. That'd be an R3R. And that is, again, like, that's a perfect shot for an R3R. That's what you want to see for an R3R. So off it goes. Smacks into the trailing Su-25. That would also explain why it didn't go for the countermeasures. It was a radar missile, not a heater. So it goes for the trailing man, and it fucks him up really good. It blew his nose off and killed one of his engines, but he was still flyable. So he then goes in for the lead, and this is what kind of fucked him here. He got so focused on the lead, he assumed that this guy was dead. I'm going to hit you guys with a bit of wisdom here I learned in the MiG-21. Never assume the other guy's dead. Never assume the other guy is done fighting. If you hit someone and you don't see them explicitly have their wings fall off and go into the ground, or you don't see them punch out, you have to assume they're still in play. So here we see Rage is turning in on the Su-25. I think here he's trying for a gun. Like, he wants the gun kill on this guy to conserve his missiles. Mistake. Should have missiled him. Like, at this range, an R60 would probably make that turn. Even the R3 might, honestly. Yeah, there we go. Oh, no, sorry, no. 2 R60s, too close. That's right. Because I remember seeing this, I was like, they're not going to make that turn. Maybe if he had a bit more lead, they might have, but... So the double launch R60, which I recommend against, by the way, misses. And there's already an R60 off the rails at him. And it just goes straight for him. So yeah, never assume that the guy is dead or finished unless you see him physically die. Now, we've also got Phoenixes coming in. So there was an attempt at support from Firefly there. And it just didn't do anything because obviously the target was already dead. Luckily, I think that was an STT Phoenix, because if that had been a TWS Phoenix, that could have ended very poorly for the Su-25s. So anyway, let's go back to Crayon Gang over here. I want to see this ricochet. So we see Seal coming back in. Right here, so that's Vati's shots, ricochet, and yeah, one of the 30 mil rounds ricochets into Seal from Vati. That's pretty cool. I have seen people take damage off ricochet before, but it's not very common. Right there. He gives him a golden shower right there because they're attacking from opposite directions. So anyway, that's that. Red's shift change comes in. And you can see Firefly here starts launching Phoenixes at Savior, who is now in his second MiG-29. Not really difficult for Savior to get rid of that one. And then Firefly starts turning cold. I think no, he just recommits. See, Firefly's doing the right thing here. He's keeping some distance. Whereas a lot of the other Tomcats are getting too aggressive and getting in way too close, and it's what's bringing them unstuck. So here we go. Here's a 16 mile Phoenix. 2 Phoenixes. One is 16 mile at Savior, and the other one is probably about 20 mile, 25 mile at either Debo or Fox. I can't tell which. Debo, I think. Wait, is that at Savior? No, it's not. Okay, so those are... Neither of them are at Savior. They're both at those guys, and they both... Like, that's not gonna hit. Let's just double check that range. So that's the launch there. So we want him, and we want 22-mile shot, or 23-mile shot for Debo. 26.5-mile shot for Fox. Yeah, that's not gonna hit shit. And then he, again, Challenger seems to be doing this a lot. He flips over and goes low, and this is where I would be doing a split S2 egress. I wouldn't be doing this. This is a bad plan. This is a really, really fucking bad plan. And then he gives Savior his 6 as well. Like, what? This is what I want to know. Like, what is the purpose of this maneuver? What conceivable goal could you hope to achieve by going from... What's his altitude? 20,000 feet, diving to the deck while closing range. We have to assume that he doesn't see Savior, because if he does see Savior, this is, like, really suicidal. Although he should be able to see him, because that's their EWR right there. Like, why is he closing with Savior at Savior's own low altitude, head-on, at close range? Like, what's the separation here? 2.5 miles. Closest to 2 miles or less, actually. Like, what? What's the goal here? What's he doing? What's he doing? Well, yeah, if GCI tells you someone's on the deck, you don't go down and join them unless you're absolutely supremely confident you're going to kill him. If I'm in a fucking Tomcat against a 29 at low level, maybe. Like, if I had Sparrows, which these guys didn't, I'd be somewhat confident, but... I don't know. Was Blue allowed to load up bombs on the Tomcats? I don't think so. I think Blue were only allowed 4 Phoenix and 4 Sidewinder. I think that was the only loadout they could take. And no external tanks either for the Tomcats. Right there. That's a R27R kill. Very close. R27R. So I'm curious what Challenger's kind of thought process was there. Not saying like, oh, you know, oh, what a noob or whatever. But, like, I want to know why he wanted to do that. There has to have been some goal he wanted to achieve with that, and I can't see it. That's what I want to know. Like, I can't possibly think why he would have done that. So, either I have information he doesn't, maybe he didn't know that Savior was there, maybe GCI didn't see him, or maybe he got the call late, or something like that, but for me, if I'm going to be yeeting a pair of Phoenixes, and then I'm going to, like, the thing is as well, you could say maybe he wants to support the Phoenixes, which why would you go low then? You know what I mean? Like, okay, maybe this is what. Maybe he wants to support his Phoenixes, but he was told by GCI that there was a 29 on the deck approaching him. So he thinks that he can support the Phoenixes if he continues tracking that direction, but he dives. But then you're going to break... Oh no, you still got line of sight. Phoenixes are trashed anyway. He realizes this, and then... Yeah, okay, that's probably what he was thinking. That might be it. In which case it makes sense. It's still not really a good move, but it makes sense. I can see where it's coming from now. So yeah, that might have been the goal there, to support the Phoenixes. And then he just ends up getting removed by Savior, because he probably never even saw him properly. So again, Red have total control over the battlefield. We've got a single F5 Cartel coming in. Wonder if he's going for the ground targets again. And he just gets pincered here between Savior and Devo. There's a head-on merge almost for Devo, and then Savior gets a cheeky R60 off. That's the end of him. And you can see the F5s are starting to form up again, and they're little... Like, again, they're doing the same thing. They're forming a big clusterfuck of F5s, and then they're tracking north out to the middle of fucking nowhere, where there's no ground objectives and nothing to do. Meanwhile, the Phoenixes, the Tomcats, are coming back for more Phoenixes and more fuel. So we've got 3 Tomcats launching here as one comes in. And then the F5s are splitting up too. Like, I'm not sure what David was planning to do. Yuval as well. Like, did they maybe think they'd use the main formation as bait and then sneak in behind? Because, why? Like, if you want to do something like that, you've got to send the main formation somewhere useful. Like, if I was red team, I'd just be fucking ignoring these guys. These guys are inconsequential. They're doing nothing. Like, they are so far from all the action. Who cares that they're up here? And you can see Kazansky and Fox are just like, yeah, whatever. And they just turn back and... Now, this is what I'm thinking. Kazansky must have been getting low on fuel. Yeah, he must be out of fuel, because he punches off all his weapons and starts accelerating, climbing, so that's why. I thought maybe he did it to try and get rid of drag to run from the F5s, but no, he's out of fuel. So, right there. See, Helldog has come in, the Tomcats are starting to return. Helldog takes about a 13-mile Phoenix shot at Kazansky, and it just doesn't get to him. That got trashed before it was even halfway there, just drove it into the ground. He gets another Phoenix off that at, I believe, Fox. That's a 13-mile Phoenix at Fox. Or no, it's another one at Kazansky, sorry. And he just outruns it there. So now we've got Fox turning back in on the F5s because he's got... keep doing that. Because he's got some support nearby. Yink's in the area. He's not with him, but he's in the area. This right here, this Tomcat coming in this close to a 29, he is so lucky that Fox was on the F5s, not him. This is how you lose a Tomcat in one easy step right here. So, Fox manages to pop Grumpy in the merge. Another Phoenix out from Dormouse. Something's happening over there. We'll go watch that in a minute. And then he turns... Oh, oof! He turns face first and just gets splattered by a fucking aim 9 from Helldog. Okay, that was actually some decent positioning then, because he was able to do that. That's dirty. It's absolutely dirty. So let's go see what's happening over here. We've got Maximus coming in against Dormouse. Looks like he's going for a belly stab on Dormouse, actually. But Dormouse sees it coming. About 6 or 7 miles, gets a Phoenix out at somebody else. That is going for Fox or Kazansky. Kazansky, I think. Or maybe even Yink. Get a pair of R3Rs off from Maximus. Oh my god, bro. Bro, you're kidding. You're fucking kidding me. That R3R just misses. Can't quite make the turn. The second one goes stupid off the rail. And then Maximus catches a second ACM to whom it may concern, which wipes him out. Whew. Catch you later, Warp. So here we have this big clusterfuck happening. Now Yink commits in on this group. We've actually got Yink and Ray committing separately on the F5 group as the Tomcat fucks off. So Helldog makes a good call here and gets some distance away from this. Now Yuval, and especially David, I don't know what David was doing. He was like really lost. Really lost. He's way out in the fucking boonies. He's about to defect to fucking like Russia or something. He's that far north. Actually, he's probably flying home. He's probably flying home is what David is doing. He's up off to fucking Israel, judging by where he was heading there. But here we go. We've got two 21s merging in separately. Now, I thought this was going to end poorly for Yink. because I thought Yink was going to get sandwiched, but I didn't notice that Ray was coming in at the same time. So these two go for Ray, and then Yink somehow slips past the other two Israelis, and they don't see him, or they don't react to him at least, and Yink does see them, and he just turns right in. This was textbook MiG-21 ambush here, although he fired that a bit early. He could have potentially held that shot a bit longer until he had better angle, but I guess he was worried that they'd make a defensive break, and they did here. Vif saw him first and turned away. That one looks like it was for Zed, and it just didn't quite get there. I don't know why. The second one went directly for Vif and got him. And then he ends up on Zed's tail. That one was too close. That was a panic shot, I think. It was an R3. So that was an R3R. Yink was probably trying to do the off-bore sight shit with the emergency launch. Didn't quite work out there. He was asking too much G of the missile there. It tried a 20G pull and it couldn't make it. Now at the same time, Ray's merged with his guys, so we'll go over and see what's happening there. Ray goes into a head-on merge with morning mode. They both see each other and start turning back in. Evil Devil is tumbleweed until about here. He probably, at this point, sees Ray. Ray gets a really cheeky remerge R60 off. Devil ends up on his tail and tries to gun him. So the reason that Devil is trying to gun him rather than going for a Sidewinder shot is that about this range, below 3,000 feet distance, an AIM-9 is not going to make that turn 9 times out of 10, especially if the 21's flaring. He's got too much angle on him. Music's perfect for this, by the way. It's just my usual synthwave playlist. I do want to get my usual playlist back on every now and then in streams, but you know, the whole DMCA thing. It's not really a hassle for me at the moment, but it tends to be a problem for YouTube VODs because like 6 months or a year later, the copyright policy on a particular song changes and the whole video gets taken down. Like, it's just a pain in the ass. So I'll probably be playing this playlist more and the other one a bit less often. But yeah, it does go well with this. It's nice chill music. So right there, he's trying for the gunshot, can't get it. At this point, morning mode survived that first R60, such as life. The R60 doesn't have a lot of explosive power. He gets a second one, second and a third. Obviously, Ray wasn't taking any chances after the first one failed to kill him. So that's the end of morning mode. And he's now still got Devil on him, but Devil can't quite get the shot. And at this point, Ray just outruns him. Drags him back towards... Wow, back towards Dormouse. So we'll unpack this in a minute. I want to go watch what Yink's doing. So this is where they come in on the first fight. Right there. So he ends up one-on-one against Zed. Zed actually gets behind him. And then Dormouse comes into the merge as well. And Yuval, so Yink is 3-on-1 at the moment, technically speaking. Right here, Zed has too much angle for a... I guess if he uncaged the missile, it might make that, but probably not. So he tries for a really high-angle deflection shot with the guns, and it's a swing and a miss. At the same time, Yink seems to shift focus between targets, so he was working on dealing with the... I guess he's stuck with Zed the whole way through, but these two are on Yink. And you can see here he extends out a little behind terrain. And by this time, Ray has kind of egressed from his fight. He's outrunning Devil, and he just comes in to support Yink. Yink's still got Zed on his tail, more or less. He's lucky he got away with that reversal. Very close. Ray actually turns away, so I think Ray's target fixated on one of these guys. Possibly on the Tomcat. Yeah, he's on the Tomcat. Okay. Yuval appears to be confused and or low on fuel or ammo. Zed just can't get his nose around to deal with Yink. We've got something happening here. We've got an R60M. R60M from Ray. Going towards Dormouse. That's a hit, but it's an R60. So, you know, it basically tickles the Tomcat. It's like the F5 here. Evil Devil seems a bit confused about what he's on the tail of. But he breaks off. Yink now has an opportunity to come up. This is... Okay, so this is where Yink took the R3 shot at the Tomcat. But, yeah, I thought I saw shoots. So Dormouse must have lost his hydraulics, and he already punched out by the time Yink shot at him. So right about here, yeah, it looks like he lost hides. So he punches out, Yink doesn't see the shoots and takes a shot anyway, gets the hit. He's still got Zed behind him, but Zed is at a range where... Did Zed have missiles at this point? I don't remember. Because if Zed had missiles, right here, right fucking here, easy shot, easy kill. Like, easiest shot you are ever going to get for an AIM-9 on a MiG-21. And Yink is slow as fuck. That would have been a perfect shot. Yeah, no, he still had missiles, didn't he? He still had both of them. He must have had his selective jettison on or something, because he didn't fire him. He should have had tone the whole time through here. And it's not like, earlier, yeah, he didn't have the angles, but right, like, here, you've still got angles there. Like, perfect. He gets gun hits on Yink, but not enough, obviously. And then Yink just extends away. This is where he hands off to Yuval, who's rejoined the fight. And Yuval doesn't do anything either. Yuval, like, just fires a couple bursts of gun and doesn't hit. And then, like, they just follow him. Like, what is this? They're well within range. He's now fast enough to outrun a missile, but all through here, he's not fast enough to outrun an AIM-9, right? I don't know what's going on here. Anyway, Yink takes the R60M shot here at Devil, who trashes it behind terrain, and then Yink's RTB fuel and possibly ammo. Now, there was another fight going on here. So, this is Ray here, Ray's RTB at this point, I think. Oh, it wasn't a fight, okay. So he's RTB. They're all RTB at this point. The F5s break off. And then Pups and Baron von Mjaken recommit into 3 F5s. So we get the head-on merge. Pups goes for Yuval. Von Mjaken stays on him. I think he could only... Like, he was padlocked on Pups, so he was flying pure support. So he didn't see Zed. He was just staying as close as he could. And then Pups gave him the call. I was watching parts of Von Mjaken's stream. It wasn't very eventful because him and Pups were circling, waiting for something to do for a lot of the event. But I could hear them talking to each other, and Pups called that there was an F5 on Mjaken, so Mjaken just leveled off and let the F5 chase him. Which you can see happening here. And he's, you know, doing a bit of a slow serpentine to keep the F5 interested, and there's... The first missile doesn't quite have the energy, the second one does. And then a third one to make sure. And then a fourth one, Jesus Christ. 530 from Flower. And once again, Red have total air superiority over the battlefield. So this was that big push that it initially looked like Blue might regain the initiative, and they just didn't. They kind of flubbed it. So we've now got Tomcats coming in again. We got Firefly firing at... Who's that at? He's firing at Comey? Bruh. That's a 51-mile shot. And then a 50-mile... Well, two 50-mile one shot. Two 51-mile shots, technically. English, please. At a cold Mirage. Like, no. That's never, ever, ever gonna hit. Like, not in 1,000 years will those ever hit anything. It's just a waste of 2 missiles. I don't know why he fired those at all. Because now, look what's happening. He's got a 29 coming right at him. He's got a bunch of Su-25s. Like, sitting targets right here, and he can't do anything to them because he just wasted 2 Phoenixes and he's about to get popped by a 29. So, here we go. R27R and an R60M, good combo. If he gets rid of one, he'll probably get hit by the other. The R27 finds its mark and the R60 shoots through. He got off a last-second ACM Phoenix, but it just immediately got trashed. I guess it didn't... Did it not have the available G? I think it had the G, I just don't know if it could necessarily see him. It might have notched it right off. So that's it for them. We now see the Su-25s returning, covered by Dormouse way up back. And, like, it's way too late for this. Again, the blue Su-25s are running in at high altitude, 20,000 feet this time, instead of 10,000. Like, I don't know what clicked in their heads to say, oh, this didn't work last time. Why didn't it work? I know, we weren't high enough. Why? Like, I know it's very armchair general for me, who wasn't flying in the event, to sit here and say, why would you do that? Ha, that's silly. But I'm struggling to see why, other than fuel economy, which I guess is a concern, the Su-25 is quite, you know, limited. But they've got bags, so I don't know why they were still worried about it. Just come in low over the fucking water. Like, come in around the terrain on Keshem and then hook in from that angle. There's literally, like, look, there is literally nothing except one MiG-21, von Myakin, covering the ground targets. Nothing, and he's RTB at this point. Like, it's just totally open to the south, and they're coming in high altitude at the north where everything is. Wonder if the Rios actually knew how to change scan elevation. The guys that flew as Rios in this are usually Rios in these events, so I'm pretty sure they know what they're doing. I just think the strategy wasn't very good. So here we've got Crips coming in terrain masked on the 25s. Right about here, they get the call out that they're being intercepted. And the leader just punches... See, they got wing bags on, fuel tank 800 liter. He just punches off everything. Absolutely everything. Now, what I really don't get... Copier. What comes up as a copier? I would have thought that would be the Phantasmagoria pod, but you can only carry one Phantasmagoria, as far as I'm aware, and they wouldn't... The 25A can't carry it, it's a 25T weapon. I think... Or is the copier the jammer pod? It might be the jammer pod. In which case, why is he carrying jammer pods? They're not going to help him here. So he jets everything. And then PC2 knows what he's doing. I've seen him in Cold War before. Like, these guys know what they're doing. I just don't know why they elected to fly at high altitude like this. He just punches off everything. Both of them do. And then Crips belly stabs him. Total, like, classic belly stab. This is a giraffe. This is what you would want to do to F-14. So all my MiG-23 boys, when the F-14 comes out, this is what we want to do to him. Just terrain mask, and then, oh, hello! Boom. Straight into the belly. 2 missiles to the trailing aircraft. He's not taking any chances this time, although still, R60M problems. 2 hits isn't enough to knock PC2 out of action. It fucks him up, but it doesn't knock him out. So Crips slots in here behind Fried Rice, and he's got way too high of an overtake on him. He is probably too close to get a missile off. You have to, for those that don't fly the red stuff, the Soviet missiles require you to hold the trigger for about 2-3 seconds before it comes off the rail. Maybe it's less than that, it's probably like 1 second, but you have to hold the trigger in. And so he probably didn't have time to get a missile off before he was past the target. At the same time, though, his closure rate is really high. And as you guys saw when I was dogfighting in the 29 earlier, it has a really strong nose wobble tendency, particularly if you make abrupt stick movements. It's very responsive, almost too responsive in a way, and that's with the damper on. With the damper off, it's a fucking nightmare. And so, right here we see he totally misses, overshoots, tries to avoid the overshoot, pulls a wobbly, and probably loses visual to an extent. But he's also, at this point, turned across the nose. Thank you for the follow, Kangaroo Man. He's also turned across the nose of PC2, who is crippled but still in the fight. And I was starting to think here we'd see another heartbreak moment where a Su-25 that was supposedly dead got a kill. But I guess, I think PC2 couldn't get his missiles to fire. Like, maybe his electrical system was out or something, or they just wouldn't come off the rails, or maybe he accidentally jettisoned them with his bombs. Because right here, you will not get a better shot, and you can see that was kind of a ropey shot there for that R60. You will not get a better shot on a MiG-29. Oh no, he got a missile away, right there. So he got an R60M off, so he could fire. What the fuck? Oh. Oh my god. How? How? 30 feet. It passed within 30 feet of his tail. I can only assume... I wish it showed me fuel flow for Cripps here. I can only assume Cripps either knew that the launch was coming, or more likely because he's in a dive, he just pulled the throttle back to flight idle because the MiG-29 picks up speed so fast. That's the only explanation for how that didn't track him. He must have just ripped the power off and it missed him because he went cold. But at the same time, there should be enough residual heat in the MiG-29's burners for it to go for him. And even if it doesn't, 30 feet, I mean, the R60 maybe not, because it's so weak explosive-wise, it might not prox fuse until it's, like, closer than that, but still, that's so close. That was a fucking miracle for Cripps that he didn't get killed by that, because 29s don't stand up well to R60s. They're one of the few planes in-game you can reliably kill with it. Either way, Cripps gets an R27 off first, so it was too late for fried rice anyway. He just barely makes that pull out. He's still got PC2 on him, but I'm not sure if he notices PC2 is still flying. He turns away, and then he recommits when he does realize that there's aircraft there. You can also see Comey coming in, so this is where Comey has his big whoops moment, which I managed to catch on stream. And right here, he's got a Tomcat, Dormouse coming in on him. Dormouse is trying to cover the egress of PC2. And right here, Comey, my man, don't sweat it. We've all done it. We've all been there. Right here, off go the 530s because he forgot to close the select jettison switch, which on the Mirage means that as soon as you pull the trigger to launch a missile, it's going to drop the weapon. So he is at 4 miles. Oh, he's actually... Oh, wow. He's actually hot on Dormouse. Wait, no, he's not. Oh, sorry. Dormouse was cold on him, rather. But no, he's not. He's hot. There's the launch. So, 4 Mile Phoenix. Comey goes for a really, like, last-second notch here, and he kind of overcooks it, and ends up in the floor. So, if he hadn't ended up in the floor, the missile quite possibly would have killed him anyway. But he just didn't have enough space to make that pull out there. So, Cripps is coming back in now, and this is towards the end of the match. You can see the Crayon gang at work. We'll spectate them in a minute. Cripps ends up within a mile, within less than a mile actually, of Dormouse, as Dormouse sends a Phoenix at one of the Su-25s. I think that's at X-Man. And we've got Rush coming in up quite high. So this was that really close shot where I said I'm not sure if he hit him or if he hit him. He did actually hit him with the guns, but it was a really close shot. So here we go. There's the overshoot. And right here, that was the first pass and that was a miss. No, it wasn't actually. So there's a bit of desync involved here, I think. Oh yeah, there's definitely some desync involved there. But on my screen it looked like he actually hit him, so again, DCS magic. Yeah, this is that part right there, Saber. But then, we have Rage coming in. Bit of a long shot. I mean, the Tomcat's pretty slow for a Tomcat, but still quite a long shot for an R3. But he turns into it. Second R3 out. But it's defeated. And then, here we go. This is going to be quite a close fight. I think this one was another really close range gun kill. Or was it? No, it was a Sidewinder kill. It was the overshoot and then Sidewinder kill. So there we go. And then that is Dormouse back to base for more missiles. Anyway, let's check out what Crayon Gang are doing. Because it looks like they're all egressing now. That was Dormouse that got the kill. So here we go. Running in on their targets. We'll just spectate one of the ground units actually. Because then it keeps the camera still while they fly around. See, that time, because they all came in with S-25s, they were much quicker at the strike. They didn't have to hang around. And they just fucked up most of that refinery. They destroyed the actual building though, they didn't destroy the ground units, which I find interesting. Okay, in comes Rush. At 1,000,000 miles an hour. Excuse me, I'm getting tired. So he's going head on with Helldog, who yeets off a Phoenix at 13 miles. Rush manages to drive it into a mountain. Another Phoenix. 4-mile Phoenix at that kind of aspect. Yeah, nah. Then another one, Jesus Christ. 3-mile Phoenix at that kind of aspect. But it tracks, and there goes the 9L. G to that pull. That's only HE? Seriously? Huh. Thought it would have been more than that. Yeah, Dormouse jammed his flaps. So, turns out the Phoenix wasn't needed. It's notched already by the looks of it. Because the AIM-9 manages to find Rush and smacks him. So this is a bit of a lull in the action here because all 3 Tomcats are on the ground. And this is where we see them start scrambling as Reds appear over the base. So you can see Flower come in, he starts getting Cubs shot at him right around here. So that one misses quite close. In fact, it seems to detonate so close behind him that he cops some minor shrapnel. Now, his aircraft appeared undamaged on my screen, so it was probably literally like 1 fragment, but either way, he does take a hit according to the game. Rolls out from that one. How close did that get? Extremely. 62 feet, kind of close. Probably should have prox fused. Oh my god, and then this one, Jesus. Jesus. Flower really taking the chances here, 142 feet. But he managed to just get away from it. Now we can see, that was a really long shot from Kazansky down here. Eight-mile shot on a Tomcat that's maneuvering. Looks like he lost lock as well. There goes the 2 may concern Phoenix. Look, the fucking turns here are ridiculous. Phoenix goes one way, Tomcat goes the other. And that is intended for... No, I think that's intended for Flower, actually. Yeah, that's for Flower. In fact, that hits Flower. That hits flower, so take that for what you will. Hey, Morphus. Then there goes an R60M, doesn't quite have the energy, another R60M. Does have the energy and actually gets the kill, surprisingly. Oh no, sorry, that's a R27R, my bad. So he manages to not break lock there, which is pretty good. Trashes the Cubs. So they're now down to 2 F-14s here. Both of whom scramble at the same time, or roughly at the same time, to try and coordinate. Dormouse drags Kazansky out over the water. Narrowly evades that R60. And then the second R60, and his aim 9s. The first one misses, and the second one just makes a turn, and on stream blew off both of Kazansky's stabilizers. So he just lost control of the aircraft and it ripped itself to pieces. So you're playing mid-21 and I bought it? Nice! Well, I hope you enjoy it. It's definitely one of the more fun modules, I think. Always glad to see more people enjoying it. Okay, here we go. That was a... I don't know what's going on with that 530. It was probably a bit too close to the ground when he launched it. It didn't track. First one missed. Looks like it lost a lock. Oh, he's probably losing the F-14 because he was going behind buildings and stuff. Okay, so I'll tell you how to deal with the MiG-21's engine. Don't exceed 1300 kilometers an hour indicated, like ever. You can get away with 1350, but I wouldn't recommend it. So keep an eye on your indicated airspeed. Don't force the nose down, so no negative G, like none. Absolutely do not ever do negative G in the MiG-21. It's okay to force it down slightly, but you have to be aware of the fact that if you're in afterburner or military power, you have about 2 seconds of engine power when you do that. Otherwise it drains the header tank, the feed tank for the engine, which only holds 80 liters. And as soon as that drains, the fuel pumps can't keep up to refill it quick enough, so the engine dies from starvation. If you need to, like, if you need to go down quickly in the MiG-21, don't push the nose down like you do in an F5. Roll inverted and pull. Like, it's a good habit to get into anyway, because both human bodies and aircraft do not like negative G. So just roll inverted and pull positive G. As long as there's positive G on the aircraft, the engine will be fine. Also, if you make a zoom climb at a certain engine setting, in certain certain atmospheric conditions, it will cause a burner blowout, and the burner blowout will usually cause a flame out, but that's quite a rare problem you don't have to worry about as much. Oop, hang on, phone call, sorry guys. Sorry about that one, guys. It was kind of an important phone call, so I just had to take it. And I had to switch overlays because there was some sensitive information involved, and I don't know how good any of you are at lip reading. Anyway, back to the Tacview. If I can just get the chat back up. So here we go. This is pretty much the final engagement about to happen. We've got Helldog in a head-on with Comey. Point blank Phoenix, that's less than... Actually, it's 2 miles. 2 miles that comes off of the rail at. It's not going to find him. There's no way. Comey comes in with a magic, but the magic can't make that sharp of a turn. And he just dumps everything he has into this turn. The Mirage is very good at doing this, but it leaves you very slow after you do it. So, on the stream when I was talking about how slow he was, this can be a problem, especially when you've got a second bandit to worry about. But you can also see Yinks coming in support, and I think it was actually Yink here. Yeah, it's Yink who gets the kill, because Comey's second magic just misses behind the tail of the Tomcat. Yink swoops in with an R60M, hits him, goes for the gun but misses, doesn't matter anyway, that Tomcat's in a bad way. And then, actually no, Yink gets the hit, but Comey gets the kill with the guns. So they're down to 1 Tomcat, which is Dormouse. We've got Yink over here. We'll actually spectate from Dormouse's point of view, I think. So he launches first a Phoenix, and then an AIM-9. Both of them go for Yink. Actually, it looks like Yink might... Has he notched that? No, I don't think he has. No, he has, actually. So he notches the first pair, and then a second Phoenix at close range. 1.5 miles. And then another AIM-9. God, look at the Phoenix make that turn. That's crazy. And both of them hit there. So then it's down to Comey, because Crips there is quite a ways off. So here comes the merge. Don't know what that shot is there. That was... I mean, it's a Phoenix, obviously, but it wasn't a very well-timed shot. It was way out of parameter. There's no way that would hit. And then Dormouse goes into the vertical. Comes over the top. There's some desync here, which we saw on stream as well. And then really close, really close pass there. Both of them kind of nope out at the last second. And then we got the head-on, the jousting match. Head-on guns. And it looks like neither of them... Nope. Actually, Comey scored some hits with the Defa, but by that point, both of them had actually physically hit each other as well. So that fucked up Comey totally. That destroyed his aircraft, and I think it knocked out the engines and maybe the hides on Dormouse. So then that was the end of that. Ditching some weight, maybe, but you'd think he'd just hit the ACM jet if he wanted to do that. It's quicker, surely. Oh, actually, maybe not. So you've got to click, unless you got it bound to something. Anyway, that was the event, and that's pretty much the end of it there. But I want to show you something, if it actually covers this late in the... Oh yes, here it comes. This is God's own missile. So Yink is heading for Crips, and he wants to do some testing, because by this point the event's already over. Knock It Off has been called, so any kills and deaths and whatever now doesn't count. Watch this shit. So, range is this. 14 miles. 10 miles. 8 miles. Right there. 7 miles. 7 miles in metric is about 11 kilometers. Be about 11 kilometers, something like that. 10 and a half, 11. That is like a fucking 11 kilometer R3R. And look what happens. God's own missile. Fucking 11 kilometer snap up R3R into a climbing MiG-29 at Mach 1.2. That's why it was able to do it, because of the closure rate. Yink's doing Mach 1.5 and Crips is doing 1.2, but look at the fucking snap up on that thing. Just straight into his belly. It's beautiful. When I killed you when I was in a 16 to 29, you were in a 1 circle down low. Why'd you let me draw a line to you? I was trying to get into my corner speed. I just wasn't keeping a good enough job of it, basically. I was struggling a bit that time. 12.9 kilometers. Yeah, there you go. That's a 13 kilometer R3R shot, and it hit. That is just beautiful. Anyway, that was the event. And on that note, guys, I think I'm going to call it for the stream. Been going for a bit over 8 hours. I haven't eaten today. Well, no, I had breakfast before I started streaming, but I need to eat. I'm starving. I also need a drink. So I will find someone to send you guys off to. And I will catch you all, probably not tomorrow, maybe the day after. I'll probably go back to streaming every second or third day for the next couple days, and then most likely towards the end of next week, or the start of the week after, I think it might be the start of the week after the giveaway, I will be heading out to visit the family for a few days, and that's when we'll be opening the G-suit, the high altitude anti-G suit. So when I come back from that, expect a meme stream. We'll see if I can struggle into the thing and run a stream wearing that. It's probably going to be uncomfortable as hell, so it's not going to be a frequent thing, but, you know, anything for a meme, right? Let me just switch scenes over here. Now, I'm going to do an absolute fucking 5-head maneuver, because if I open my browser with this open, it's going to freeze my PC up for a second. I'm going to be a big brain, and I'm going to open DCS so I can open the Steam browser in that, and then I can find someone to host through that, send you to them, and then close DCS. Like, absolute 500 IQ maneuver. It would probably be a more intelligent idea to just, like, actually close some of the tabs I have open, but no, we don't do sensible things around here. Don't forget Korea's filling this weekend. Yeah, just shoot me a reminder over the weekend and I should be able to hop on for it at some point if I'm awake.